Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. Welcome to the Pinfall podcast. As I stated before my laptop exploded, I'm Elizabeth. I'm joined today, as always, by my lovely co-host, Mark. Ed.
Howdy. I'm not going to bring up anything that happened before because it cursed the last 5 seconds.
I don't know what happened. My computer screen just went black, and then I freaked out. I unplugged a couple things, and then I turned back on, and you were gone.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Anyways, we had an episode of Smackdown tonight.
Definitely better than the last two. Maybe 3 or 4.
In a sense, it was better. And in another sense, it was so much worse. It was so much worse.
What was worse about it? Well, we'll get to all of that once we
get to it. I'll get to it.
Stick around, everybody, till after our journey through today's SmackDown episode, and we will give our excuse me. We will give our predictions for this Sunday's Extreme Rules, the horror show.
Not good at swallowing drinks anymore. Old age. So, started tonight with different intro than we're them to. It seems today a little different. We had AJ Styles starting it all out, talking smack about Matt Riddle. I thought, oh, well, it's a title fight tonight. We haven't had a lot of those recently. It's going to be a AJ Styles promo. Matt Riddle came up, and I was like, it was Alexa Bliss, and then it was Miz and Morrison announcing that they are having a fight with Braun tonight, and then Cesaro and Shinsuke passively announcing that they are fighting on Sunday. I've seen a lot of comments from people that really liked it, but I was just very confused because some of it was stuff we already sort of knew, and then some of it was just stuff that, like, was kind of big news and was just kind of slipped under in the midst of it all.
What was that?
That's sorry.
Huh?
Yelled at by the cat.
Oh, she wants to be part of the podcast.
Opinions, I give her the mic. But I've seen people who liked it a lot. I didn't hate it, but I was very confused going right into it.
Yeah, I was just confused about the whole Miz, Morrison, and Braun situation. That kind of took my mind for the entirety of it. I was wondering why we were getting that again.
From that, when Matt Riddle fought, or John Morrison fought Matt Riddle, I thought we were done. I thought we were done with like the whole Braun Miz Morrison thing, but I know what to say. After that massive promo, it was sort of like they were like, we have so much stuff we need to talk about tonight. Let's just now. After that, we got Big E versus Cesaro, and I didn't realize that it was suggested that this would happen. But Big E and Kofi are fighting Cesaro and Shinsuke at Extreme Rules this weekend. The match tonight between Big E and Cesaro was to decide on who gets to pick the stipulation. It was either a steel cage match or a tables match, and if you've seen any of their last fights, you might be able to guess where it went.
Also, I have a strong feeling we're gonna see Xavier Woods back in the ring come Sunday, because Corey Graves made a very interesting teaser where he said, "You better hope Cesaro and Shinsuke pick the steel cage, because Xavier Woods could be lurking around the ring. He could even be under the ring. And since they didn't pick the steel cage, I have a feeling, a strong inkling, if you will, that we'll see our good old boy Xavier Woods coming back.
Do you think he's gonna like Dexter Loomis it? I feel like Xavier, because I mean, to be fair, he was in October 2019, I think. That's when he was injured. At least when like the announcement came out that he was like gonna be gone for like to a year.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's been past 6 months. Almost been a year. The real question at hand right now is, does he want to come back?
I'm sure he does, because he's still great friends with Big E and Kofi, and I mean, I'm sure there's a part of him that would love to. And just imagine Xavier Woods doing his best Dexter Loomis impression while holding a trombone in his hands. As you see him rise out of the ring, you just hear
I'd like to see that. I want to see him come back. I wonder if he wants to come back at this point. Considering like when they're injured for that long, typically like dates on their progress, and he did sort of update people on his like rehab progress, but he just seems to be having so much fun doing his like streaming and stuff that I don't really know.
Yeah, but also you look at like Tyler Breeze and Adam Cole. They have fun streaming too, but they also do wrestling. Same with like Drew Gulak, Dakota Kai. Everyone who streams, at least everyone we've seen, seems to have fun with it.
Can't remember who it is that's with them. You told me about Corbin Thomas Pessock streaming. Apparently, Tyler Breeze, and someone else whose name I cannot remember now, all have like their own like little streaming suites with a Z at the end.
Wait, you cut out at the beginning of that. What's it called?
The suites?
The suites?
The end. Thought it was weird because I mean, Corbin and Tyler Breeze don't exactly seem like a match made in heaven. They are. This was. I forgot we were still talking about this fight. We haven't even talked about it yet. This was a pretty interesting fight. I thought it was fun because like we finally got to see Cesaro really being Cesaro, and we've been getting to see glimpses and glimmers of it over the course of the last few weeks. But this week, I mean, he dominated the ring.
Mm-hmm.
It was a gentle mix in being incredibly powerful, and we were talking about how like I think kind of forget how strong he actually is or how like jacked he really is until we see him in the ring.
Yeah.
I had a sense that Cesaro was gonna win going into this because I was like, I just couldn't see anyone else picking the stipulation besides Shinsuke. But I mean, there is one man who can make a European uppercut look like something you want to like stand in line for. It's him. Absolutely him. I was thrown away by this fucking match. Like I was very excited that this was like where we started, like the foot we started out on.
Yeah, WWE seems to really like to put really good matches as their openings. But also with Smackdown, they mostly stick their New Day and Cesaro Shinsuke fights in the beginning, except I think last week it was the main event fight. I think it was.
I don't remember it being the main event fight.
Yeah, that was because it was a title fight. It ended in DQ.
Yeah, I remember it ending in DQ.
Yeah, last fight of the day.
It was pretty even for most of the match. Between Cesaro being able to take advantage of little holes in Biggie's moves, and Biggie getting to take advantage of Cesaro being a bit too shorty, a bit too slow.
Mm-hmm.
But it looked like he was going to suplex him. Pulls Cesaro off the ground. Cesaro grabs the ropes. The referee is a little busy, a little distracted. Common theme for tonight.
Mm.
And as the referee is distracted, Shinsuke comes out of nowhere, kicks Biggie in the noggin. Cesaro gets the opportunity to pin Biggie for the win. And to do what he has been doing every night this week, or these past few weeks, every Friday night, pulls the table out. Kingston, out of absolutely nowhere, flies in, takes Cesaro and Shinsuke out, and Biggie the opportunity to belly flop to Cesaro on the table, but lucky for Cesaro, they pulled him out of the way. They love friends. They love friends being friendly with each other.
And that really teased, that really foreshadowed that we were going to get the table match for Extreme Rules, because they teased a big table slam right at the very end. So you just knew.
It would have been weird if they like, oh, I know that we've been pulling tables out from under the ring for the past whatever, but let's do a steel cage match. Like, would make sense. We also get to see Cesaro doing his, and I'm sure there's people who actually know the word for it, but Cesaro got to do his spinning move while he holds onto his opponent's legs. I haven't gotten to see that in a while. I was really excited. We just watched
What? You cut out right at the beginning of your sentence there.
we were just watching Evolution, right? Like last week.
We were watching what's it called? Survivor Series.
Oh yeah, why did I say Evolution?
Because they brought up
Because they were
Evolution
talking about women's
times.
Yeah. We're watching Survivor Series, and he did that move twice, I think. I think it was the 2016 Survivor Series. We haven't seen Cesaro do that in a while. And we got to see it today, and I was like, all right, cool. Thank you. I feel vindicated. After that match, we had King Corbin backstage. I'm happy any night I get to see King Corbin. Ultimately, it was just a promo saying that he thinks AJ has nothing to worry about with Matt Riddle. Says that he thinks that the bro is nothing but a little boy.
Also, real quick, Cesaro, that move, the spinning move Cesaro does, it's called the giant swing.
It is. Gonna be. Yeah, Corbin's just talking down to Matt Riddle, and right after we have Cesaro and Shinsuke backstage. I don't know if they maybe had like a shortage of like interviewers tonight or something, but like maybe I don't know if Sarah wasn't there tonight or something, because a lot of the promos were the guys talking directly to the camera.
It was also Charlie too. Charlie came for the Bailey and Sasha interview.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
And I think the Braun interview, if there was a Braun interview.
It was a Morrison interview.
I think it was the Jeff Hardy interview she was there for.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, so something weird is happening with Sarah. Cesaro and Shinsuke announced that the stipulation, mainly because Cesaro, the idea of the New Day gyrating against the steel cage gives Cesaro the heebie-jeebies, decided that they are going to do a table match. And I said, oh, shocker. Tables last 4 Smackdowns.
That whole sentence you cut out.
They just said that, of course, they chose a table match.
Yeah. It's no shock. I mean, it makes so much sense why they had this steel cage match as the other option, because it's the only really generic other option they could have picked. Like, what else are they going to announce? Or what else are they going to have as the other option for table match? What, like a strap match? And then everyone has to be like, oh, I wanted a strap match now. Or like, what other stipulations are there? An eye for an eye.
Yeah. I mean, I liked that they basically were like, it's either steel cage or tables. Like, there's no, you can't veer from this.
Yeah.
After the Cesaro and Shinsuke backstage, we had a moment of bliss, and I love watching Alexa Bliss. I love watching her. She's so cute. She's so fun. She teased her surprise guest for 5 minutes longer than was necessary. Gave her predictions on things that, like, basketball stuff. Riddle's match later that night. She says that her special guest is someone who's also competing in Extreme Rules. She views them as a really close friend. We all knew that it wasn't Nikki because Nikki's sitting next to her as her co-host. And we all know it's not Bayley and Sasha because those people are not friends with each other. We all know it's Asuka because she's the only other woman competing in Extreme Rules, and yet somehow we have to sit through an entire Bayley and Sasha coming out, taunting them as they always do, announce that they're definitely going to fight them in like the next couple of minutes, and then Asuka comes out, and as Asuka comes out, Bayley and Sasha attack Alexa and Nikki. I've said it a couple times now. I'll say it a couple times. If I have to watch another variation of Alexa, Nikki, Asuka, and Sasha, if I watch another one of those, what is it?
You see, I just want to compare this to another storyline in Raw that's been going on for about the same amount of time. The Seth Rollins Rey Mysterio storyline has been going on for about as long, and yet you don't say you're sick of that.
The story has changed over time. The story started off with Seth taking Rey's eye for no good reason. Seth, like, as called when, like, you're already a heel, but you turn deeper into being a heel, like you kind of like screw drive yourself down. I don't know what that's called, but that's basically what he did when he tried to take Rey's eye. From, oh, it's Seth versus Rey, to, oh, it's Seth versus Alistair and Umberto. Oh, Rey's retiring, to, oh no, he's not. To, Dominic's going to avenge his father's eye. Like, there's been so many levels to this, whereas with Bayley and Sasha, it's just don't like each other. Now, Bayley and Sasha versus Alexa and Nikki, and Bayley versus Alexa, Sasha versus Alexa, Bayley versus Nikki, Sasha versus Nikki. Doing Bayley and Sasha Extreme Rules.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, they have the better writing for that Seth Rollins Rey Mysterio storyline at Raw, to where they have different story beats that happen. Like every week something new is introduced. Also, the fly is right on your scrunchies.
Just like try to kill it.
You can do it. Go for it. Did you kill it or did it fly away? Is it still alive?
Resilient. I don't have my glasses on, so I really paid $50 for this. Using as a glorified fly swatter. But he's got to be injured. He landed on my scrunchie and stayed there while I moved my arm.
Okay.
My glasses on, but I'll find you. That hurt.
Are you okay?
Oh.
Are you alright?
Go on.
Oh, I lost you again. Okay, you're back.
Can't see you now. I might just go by your voice at this point because, like, my computer just said, "Oh no, Discord won't work anymore." You try to turn your camera on and off and then turn it back on.
I just did. I'm gonna do it again. Nothing?
Not gonna work. Just let's do it old fashioned. I'll just go by your voice.
Okay. But what I was saying was that the Rey Mysterio Seth Rollins storyline had beats and progress every so often. The only progress that we've had with the Bayley, Alexa, and Nikki storyline, and Sasha, is every single time Nikki's like, I can take her, I can do it, I can win. She gets her ass beat. That happens every single week. Today it seemed a little different. Today it seemed like, especially during a promo that will come later, it seems like just as we're getting to the climax, things are happening. Meanwhile, during this entire Rising action, there's just been filler this whole time.
It's like I feel the same way I think about the Rey and Seth Rollins feud. If like every week I'm just watching these guys fight each other and there's nothing else to it. It's just Rey and Seth or Seth and Alistair. And those extra moments in the story, Alistair lost like 4 matches in a row.
Mm-hmm.
Still enjoyed watching it. Because I still had Rey coming in through like Skype call saying like, hey Seth, remember, came after a member of my family, so now I'm definitely gonna kill you. Like, I had that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just get deeper into this a little bit later. But it is just further indication that they don't know how to write for their women wrestlers. There's so many ways that they could do a similar, like, how they had like the de-evolution of Mandy and Sonya. There's so many ways that they could do the exact same thing. Don't yell at me. They could do something just the same. They could make a story for why they hate each other, but it's just hated you because you have the titles, now you don't have the titles, so we're just gonna
Mm-hmm.
It's a way to bully people and still make it look like a story.
Yeah, it seems like cliche wrestling at its best.
Yeah. Just.
But shall we jump into the next moment? Because we haven't even reached the fight yet.
We haven't. We had Matt Riddle backstage after the Moment of Bliss. This is where I kind of started having problems with the initial promo for the beginning of the night because they reused the clips that they had of Matt Riddle and AJ Styles. No, it wasn't here, but that is why I had a problem with it. Riddle was backstage with Drew Gulak, which I I appreciate it. Daniel Bryan calling in from wherever in the wilderness he is right now. I have decided that I will give Daniel Bryan half of the money in my bank account if he just cuts his hair and trims his beard a little bit.
He calls you
He's
up.
starting to look a little... Fine.
He's like, give me that money.
That means my birthday twin will call me up right now. I will talk to him. We can figure it out. He's starting to look a bit too much like a mountain man. And by that, I mean like moat. There's a cat that is like obsessed with attention right now. I'm doing something else.
You want me to walk through everything else?
I've got it right now. He starts yelling at me more, maybe. Asuka and Nikki versus Sasha and Bailey after that. Nikki looked...
Yeah.
Not bad at all.
Definitely like the best we've seen of her. Not perfect because I still hate how she throws punches, but that's just my opinion. But she had a lot of amazing moments. Definitely, and not just like the thing where she just all of a sudden can throw her body around a little more. No, it's like she managed to do a lot of really interesting, unique wrestling moves that aren't just like the spinning head scissors.
Flying head scissors.
Flying head scissors, yeah.
Yeah, we got like incredibly sick tornado DDT from Nikki tonight that my brain sat back for a minute. And I was like...
Almost got it twice. We almost got it twice.
Yeah, she almost did, and then... well, you know. So most of tonight was... referees don't see... Like, they got, like, blinders on for the most part. Of course, that I saw off tonight. I respect her still. Because Jessica just didn't see Shinsuke kicking Nikki in the face. And I'll give that to her. However, the referee tonight for the Bailey and Sasha and Asuka and Nikki fight, idiot. Dumb. If I were like a father at like my child's Little League game, I would be probably kicked out because I would be yelling at him. We had Bailey yelled at the ref. Sasha pulled Nikki's head down. And then Nikki, the ref told her to stop. Sasha took advantage and like was like yelling at him while Bailey knocked her out. It was... No, it's their thing. I know I should accept it. I think Michael Cole or Corey, one of the two goofs, said it best, where they were like, you don't have to like it, you just have to accept it. And I was like, I guess I'm just going to accept it then.
Nikki just needs to make the stipulation 2 refs. That's what you got to do to beat Sasha and Bailey. 2 refs.
Nikki won't be the one making the stipulation right now, will she?
She won't be?
She didn't win.
Well, I didn't realize that match was a winner picks a stipulation.
It's not, but I'm saying figuratively, even if it were the case, not the winner.
Okay.
Yeah. Stipulation is, I don't know if there's like a stipulation outside of it's just aggressive violence because it's Extreme Rules. Actually, tonight, Sasha, great.
I mean, she had some good moments, but I think this was supposed to be Nikki's show.
And rightfully so, because ultimately Nikki had it in the bag. More for the fact that Tornado DDT again, and Bailey caught her. Covered for the pin, got her legs up. Now, mind you, okay, I just explain how this all worked if you didn't see it. Say, right here is where the ring is. And right here, Nikki. She's laying down on the canvas. And is Bailey. Now you see, I'm at an angle. You know why I'm at an angle? Because she got her legs up in the middle of the pin. And the referee, while this is happening, is at just about here. You can't see suddenly a lady's body going at a 45-degree angle. If you're gonna sell that, just make the referee go to a different side of their bodies. He was right in front of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This whole Bailey and Sasha have really only been winning through stupid refs and Deus Ex Machina. Like the hand of God helping them.
It's just one of those things where it's like, yeah, okay, it's Bailey and Sasha, they're out in the ring, or whether it's a tag team fight, whether it's a singles fight. And Sasha are there together. I know someone's winning because of some move from the other person.
Mm-hmm.
I know that's going to happen. I've accepted that at this point. I've taken Michael Cole's advice, and I've accepted it. I've not accepted it at all. That's a lie. I'm lying. I haven't accepted it. I'm still mad. I just want Sasha to be on her own. I want Bailey to be on her own. I want them to cheat separately.
Which they wouldn't be able to do because they need each other to cheat.
This is like another one of those things that kind of like drives me insane about the writing for women on AEW in general, aside from NXT. It feels like a lot of tag teams, I'm like, oh, well, they're in a tag team because it makes sense. They complement each other. You know, like somebody's the muscle, somebody's the brain, somebody's the brawn, somebody's the little skinny whatever, you know? Drives me insane that, like, Alexa are together in a tag team. Billy and Sasha are together in a tag team. When I feel like all four of those ladies are better off on their own. I don't think that we'll see that because give more credence in a way to their female tag team members than they have ever given their singles members, especially with Smackdown. With Raw, I'll draw an exception for the singles because there's some those ladies out there that like are impressive. For SmackDown, as it always is. Oh, it just throws me a little bit. It really does.
You know, I would agree with you about them being better alone, but SmackDown has like no other women tag teams besides the two of them. And if they broke up,
Go on. You can go on.
I was gonna say if they broke up, there would be nothing. No women's tag teams.
Though, can I just like question? Does it matter that much? I feel like for hard wrestling fans might be like, yes, it does matter. It does matter.
Just don't have tag team matches?
I would rather see impressive women's wrestling. Again, during the time of this pandemic, mind you. And very weird circumstance that we were finding ourselves in. Earth was nuked tomorrow and somehow WWE was still broadcasting and we were still alive. I would expect things to be like a little weird, like a little strange. Like this is a bold thing to say, but like I don't know if I would mind. Because right now we're in a position where female tag teams that have been fighting each other for no good reason for an extended period of time. Female singles wrestling that co-opted by a karaoke show. See Alexa Bliss fighting single-handedly against whoever else without the shtick of her tag team running behind her, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like tag teaming women the way they do in SmackDown with Bliss and Nikki and Bayley and Sasha gives them an excuse to take away like half their personality off the bat.
Yeah.
Kind of annoys me.
I agree with you. But we have talked about this this single match long enough. I think we should move on.
Great. You don't have to worry about me talking out of my ass for at least a couple more segments. But it will come up. I'm also being yelled at again because the cat keeps coming into my room and screaming. It's fun. Sorry, I didn't mean to offend you.
She's offended.
Oh, she definitely is. She just went to walk out, but now she stopped because I pet her. So after that match, which spoke about who won. Okay. Miz and John Morrison backstage. Rest in peace, John Morrison, by the way. And admits that he is terrified of his match against Braun, rightfully so. Miz says that he's the hero, and heroes always win in the end. And John says, and they have a friend who will step in case the hero isn't ready to fight just yet, right?
In horror movies specifically.
Like, horror movies, sorry. And the Miz just is... Anyways, no. No. Not me. I'm sorry, bud. Which is intense Liz energy, if anyone was wondering. I will scooch right on out of any sort of situation like that. Left. After that, which you mentioned it, by the way, and maybe we'll come back to this in a minute. Liz and John Morrison, who knows, maybe they'll break up soon. What happens, dude? I'm gonna cry. If that happens before Bayley and Sasha break up, I'm gonna have a moment. I'm gonna have a long moment. Anyways. You aren't talking right now, right? I can't tell if I can hear you through the wall, and I just can't hear you.
No, I'm not talking.
Okay.
I don't know what you're hearing through
so
the
after
walls,
that we had...
but
it's probably the ghosts. But after that we had Firefly. Every week with this. Every week
Firefly
with
Not
this.
So Funhouse.
Hi, Swamp House.
Yeah.
I'm calling you from now. Bray has taken an early flight out to the swamp. He's already there. He's singing a little tune. I don't know what he's saying because the audio sucks so bad. It didn't suck in the latter half because he started talking loudly and being more impassioned, but between the nature around, like the ambiance, the atmosphere, and his voice, he was like all on the same level with everything, and I was like...
Also, you mentioned that Bray took an early flight out there. It's Florida, so the Swamp House is probably right behind the Performance Center. Like, it's probably not even drive. You could probably just walk over there.
Funniest part is that I thought about that while we were watching this. I never put that note in my my note section, but I was like, it'd be nice if they're in Florida because the swamp is pretty much there. And then I made this comment, so myself. Basically, Bray just wants to destroy Braun. He says that he's a monster that he's made and he needs to destroy him. Excited. Michael Cole will later on ask what exactly a swamp match entails, and if it's not one of them getting eaten by an alligator. Swamp match?
I just want some mud wrestling.
Will show up on Pornhub at some point. It's just the two of them, like, in mud.
Two very large men wrestling each other in the mud.
Hey, there we go.
In the backwoods of Florida.
Vince McMahon would just be like, revenue stream. Sure. I want to mention real quick, because I did bring this up 5 seconds ago. I mentioned that the audio was super unbalanced. Not super unbalanced, but just not. No, yes.
Poorly
because
mixed.
I couldn't. Yeah, I couldn't understand what Ray was really saying for the first half while he was talking quietly, saying the most important parts. And for anyone who might tune in, I went to school for this stuff. And my problem is not with Bray Wyatt and his promo. My problem tonight is with the commercial that they have been running for Raw today. Because they're hyping up that Big Show Randy Orton match. And oh my god, the Big Show's audio from when he was challenging Randy, which was fine, the Performance Center. There's no one talking. Now they've put it over music. Is solid 30 seconds of Big Show talking. I cannot understand what he's saying. I just want to say that if you're the WWE and you're making as much money as you are, and you haven't hired me, which is upsetting, what are you spending the money on if you can't mix a commercial properly?
Staying open in a pandemic.
Buggs' plastic face mask.
The cleaner who cleans off the plexiglass after Rick Buggs puts his hands all over it.
You know what? You're right. That is a pretty expensive job. Oh, God. This is a We Hate Rick Buggs channel.
Honestly. It's a We Hate Rick Buggs but Love Dexter Lumis podcast.
Yeah, that's your defining tone. That's it. It's just NXT guy and one trainee. That's where we settle it.
With cameos from Raw and Smackdown.
It's a We Hate Rick Buggs, we love Dexter Lumis. Was better than SmackDown podcast.
Now let's just get our favorite SmackDown stars onto Raw. We got Dolph.
Looking for that superstar shakeup.
I hope that happens soon.
Happen this year. I sure hope so.
Anyway, the fight.
Yes. Would you call it a fight?
The demolition.
Had John Morrison versus Braun Strowman directly after this. Multiple times why this would be happening, but I think it happened only because that was like his last real opponent, and he needed a reason to come out looking absolutely unhinged. He basically treated John Morrison like he was enhancement talent.
Yeah. And John Morrison walked out of there with his neck snapped.
Yeah, so there's not too much to cover with this match itself. Basically, Braun Strowman repeatedly just picked up John Morrison and threw him to the canvas, threw him to the canvas, threw him to the canvas, but in different styles, which was fun. That was fun.
Clotheslined him.
Oh, God. John Morrison was rightfully terrified of this match. Tom looks completely like he has lost it. Just fine. Love character development. Rick and I weren't in agreement, or rather, weren't sure this was meant to happen or not, but afterwards John is like clutching his neck as Braun like walks out, and Miz is like, hey, we need a stretcher down here, and I was like, huh, it's WWE, that doesn't mean anything. A stretcher is just a prop in that building. However, John got out of the ring and Lacey Evans' intro started playing, and Lacey Evans walked out as the Miz was like really doing his best to help his friend get out backstage. We were both just sitting there like, what's supposed to happen?
You know, thinking back about it, I think that was part of like the script, because I'm sure in a pandemic they're wiping down the mat after every fight, so I doubt Lacey Evans would go out without like very clear, okay, come out now, unless it was part of the whole shtick.
I've reached the point with WWE where it's like, really anything could happen, and I'm just gonna believe that it's part of the story.
Yeah.
There could be like the hilt of a dagger sticking out of someone's stomach, and I'd be like, probably like fake.
So like, where's the glue?
Yeah.
I mean,
basically,
during the greatest match ever, I thought Edge was faking his injury. Turns out I was very, very wrong.
We thought Edge was faking it too, and then here we are. KO out of nowhere.
One Christian later.
One Christian head punt later. This match was pretty much just for Braun to tell Bray that he was really mad at him, I guess.
And go a little nuts.
Yeah. I'm interested to see where this goes. It does seem like Braun has kind of like reached the end of his rope. So if he doesn't win, I don't know what's going to happen. And if he does win, I don't know what's going to happen.
I have a couple predictions that we'll go over once we get to the predictions part. So hold those thoughts.
I'm excited for those. So, as mentioned, Lacey Evans comes out as John is walking backstage with his broken neck. This is where I start having problems. Because we had Lacey Evans versus Naomi, which I guess they set up last week. I don't know.
You mean the sequel to Karaoke?
Karaoke Part 2. I can't even get mad yet because there was something that happened later that made me even angrier. However, so Naomi comes out and she's looking good. She's looking great. Stomping on Lacey. Lacey went from, I think, top rope. I'm not really sure. From one of the ropes, down onto Naomi, and Naomi got her knees up just in time to like knock her right in the old ribs. But also did a split on top of Lacey, and I said, "Ma'am, hang on, let's calm down with that." But then, after a lovely flying hand scissors, we're a sucker for that on this podcast. Of our podcast traits. Hair pulling. And, really care for that, I guess, when it comes to not a big, but like when it comes down to like women fighting, like if you're not going to do that to men who also have long hair.
Well, I think the when it comes to the fighting and the moves they do, I think that's um the choice of the wrestlers because I don't think they have a choreographer. It's definitely not the writers. I think the wrestlers are their own choreographers unless they have like someone coaching them, maybe like some former wrestler with a lot of tenure or something. But I think for the most part, it is the wrestlers choreographing their own stuff.
Say that because I wanted to yell at an inanimate body of people.
You see, you hated that moment. I thought it was really creative. I thought it was really cool.
The tying of the hair around the ropes was relatively decent, but when you consider the fact that this feels like it's a match, I'm sure they planned this match in advance, right? But um, when you realize that this is like the outcome of karaoke, there should have been some presence of mind to be like, okay, everyone hated this because it felt incredibly sexist and like we were overlooking the talents of our women, the brand. Like, hey guys, maybe hair pulling is something that we should avoid because that seems like the stereotypical cat fight move. You know?
I feel like it would be a whole lot worse if we weren't seeing two very talented women in the ring. Like if it was just two women who aren't so good, I'd be like, "Oh, that's bad. That's not good." But because Lacey Evans and Naomi are such talented performers, I feel like they could pull it off in a weird way.
My second point. Why did I have to sit through like a 20-minute karaoke? Got 5 minutes of Lacey and Naomi fighting each other.
Yeah, I don't know why it was this short. You could have cut out the promo of AJ Styles and Matt Riddle saying the same thing they already said earlier in the night.
Could have cut out so many things. There were so many things. Just make my AJ Styles' fight 5 minutes shorter and cut out the secondary promo. That's all you had to do. That's all that had to happen. No. I just gotta Lacey tying Naomi's hair around the ropes and Lacey uppercutting Naomi. And
But
it does not make me feel any better.
but now we know Lacey Evans can beat Bobby Lashley.
Oh, did learn that today.
Naomi put Lacey Evans in a full Nelson, and Lacey Evans broke out immediately. So expect that at Extreme Rules.
There's not even like a real fight. It's just Lacey Evans versus Bobby Lashley, and it's just her continually breaking out of full Nelsons.
It's just in Bobby Lashley's house. Lacey like broke in.
All right, I'd like to see that. I'd be careful around Lana, but sure.
I want to.
Well, Lana's not there anymore because they're divorced.
Oh, true. I want to. I want to see like a fight kind of like that, where somebody just like breaks into somebody's home, and then they wrestle in the house as if it's like some kind of action movie.
I'm sorry, you mean like when AJ Styles broke into a hearse and Undertaker said, "Hey, wait, that's my territory."
Except one person is very clearly a criminal and trying to like actually do something bad. Meanwhile, AJ Styles is just a screw up.
I was gonna say, meanwhile, AJ Styles and Undertaker both look like they're criminals, so it doesn't really count.
I mean, Undertaker probably is. Tax evasion.
What happened to me?
Father Time catches up to all of us. Anyway.
Sorry, I knocked over like 14 things.
Do we want to move on?
Still support Undertaker on this channel as a character.
Oh yeah. Revolutionary.
Mark Calloway. Yeah. Speaking of people.
Speaking of people,
I don't know how else to introduce this section.
Speaking of falling down a rabbit hole.
Being buried alive. Jeff Hardy backstage. I'm tired of this. I'm sure it was somebody from Wrestle Talk or Fightful. It's a good thing that they're keeping the bar fight on, like, in SmackDown and not on a pay-per-view, because it's like a virus. Just isolate and amputate, and I was like, oh. Jeff Hardy basically, like, he's being interviewed because, like, whoever is interviewing him in that moment is like, hey, so many things, and it's crazy because, like, he is bringing up your past. Like, why would he do that? And Jeff Hardy's like, I'm gonna be stronger than that, blah blah blah. And Sheamus just comes out of nowhere and punches him, and then curls up beside him.
No, didn't punch him.
In the most attractive fashion.
He kicked him right in the face because he saw his big old boot in his jeans.
Perfect. So much better. I'm a bully. Maybe that's why I enjoy watching Sheamus do what he does. Sheamus basically, like, curls up next to him, leggy out, talking to the microphone over him. I was like, please. Beautiful pose. And then Sheamus says, I'll see you on SmackDown next week. And I said, what about Extreme? That's for so little.
Which sucks because we've only got 7 fights at Extreme Rules, when I feel like there should be more. I want to see if I have the Backlash.
I was gonna say, how many happened to Backlash?
9. There were 9 fights at Backlash.
To be fair, these are, like, different stipulations and stuff. And I'm sure that the Seth Rollins Rey Mysterio fight's gonna be a minute and a half.
Same with the Swamp fight.
Yeah. So, too worried. I feel like they're going from the headlines I've heard so far. They're kind of going all out on this.
Mm-hmm.
I use CGI or prosthetics for the Seth Rollins fight. Thank God, like, they're not actually going to be pulling someone's eye out. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's for later in the episode. I'm sorry. I'm still not over Sheamus, like, just, like, nestling in beside Jeff Hardy's conscious body. Perfect. We had an interview with Bayley and Sasha. Same interview that we get every single time. Bayley's just saying that she's so much better than everyone. Sasha's so much better than everyone. They're best pals. And we quickly transitioned over to Nikki and Alexa backstage. My choice for gonna win Nikki versus Bayley, because Nikki hurt my feelings entirely. She was, like, talking about her family and, like, how she's like, I left my family, I left my home, and now I'm here, like, a failure. Nice. Okay. It hurts. It hurts so bad. Then Nikki hears Bayley backstage and just attacks her. Bayley tells Alexa to put her on a leash, so happened. If you have anything to add to that at all, I can't see your face. I wish I could.
Nothing to add. It was a very emotional promo. Definitely one of the better ones we've seen from Alexa and Nikki.
I thought that like it almost looked like Alexa was looking at her, which I'm sure maybe sometimes they just aren't thinking about it. But the way Alexa was looking at her, like I thought that she was gonna be like, yeah, you know what, Nikki, you've kind of like screwed up a lot. Like, and I was worried. But then they hurt my feelings in a different way, and I was like, oh, Nikki, I too am homesick. Stop. My opinions on who was going to win and who was going to lose. Anywho.
Stay tuned later after we give our best of the night for our Extreme Rules predictions.
Hey. We then had the AJ Styles promo with Matt Riddle, or AJ Styles' promo, Matt Riddle's promo. We've already seen it. Riddle made one good joke, and I'll give it to him, which was, what does AJ stand for? Arrogant jackass? And I said, okay. You get it. You can have it. But this is when I started getting angry again. Because the WWE was talking about how 5 years ago they had the horsewomen and like the beginning basically of like the Divas Revolution. Great. Yeah, that's great. I'm really happy for them. I'm really happy to see women's wrestling getting so far, especially with like people spearheading it, like Bayley and Sasha and Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair and all these women that are doing stuff that 10 or so years ago may not have been like, I guess. However, them to do it on the same night that they remind us of the karaoke event we had.
Also, most of the women's wrestlers that came out of Evolution are not fighting anymore. Becky Lynch, Paige, Charlotte Flair, who is taking a minor absence, but
Becky Lynch might be back.
According to Seth Rollins, she's maybe considering not coming back.
Oh, remember you read me the whole article, and then we realized Seth Rollins was like,
he was a no.
Right? And she might not. I don't. Pregnant? And we're gonna have a baby. That's all I actually know right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm sure that she wants to come back, but that's like 6 months down the line or something.
Also,
can't say anything.
I think Ronda Rousey was also part of that women's Evolution thing. I think I remember seeing a picture of her with them. But the only big name really left is Sasha Banks. And Bayley too. I think Bayley was also part of that.
Charlotte will be back. Obviously, Charlotte's whole wrestling. Women were Charlotte, Becky, Billy, Sasha. You still do have that remaining. But just you knew. I'm sure the writers are aware of. You knew 5-year anniversary was happening. Week. What would you do? The most degrading possible thing you could possibly do to women's wrestling a week prior. And then pat yourself on the back. Like screen blips of like wrestlers tweeting about horsewomen in the Revolution with a massive tweet from Triple H smack dab in the middle, covering up basically every other woman's tweet that you showed seconds prior.
And Ric Flair's.
The only tweet that was like still visible that was from a woman, I think, after Triple H's was up there was or Trinity Fatu.
Which we love Triple H. Gotta give him that, but
Could be my uncle. I'd be happy. I love him.
he has done miracles for NXT that Vince McMahon somehow can't do with Raw and SmackDown.
I trust him with my life. He's not a lady.
Do you want to move on to the main event?
I do. I so badly do. So I want to get this cat hair that was attached to my lips. It was my hair. One more thing, one tiny thing.
Okay.
It just annoys me so much that this is like the timing that they've chosen for everything.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was just so painful to watch that karaoke session or whatever, and it's kind of disgraceful, I guess, when you consider the fact that like we could have just had a fight.
Yeah.
Signed up for it. That's why we're here. To do that a week prior anniversary, it's like, okay.
What if today was supposed to be karaoke part 2, but then after all the backlash, they said, no, let's give a 5-minute fight. Anyway, main event time.
Why not talk about these tweets like around the time that they did the Bailey Sasha Nikki fight?
I don't know.
And anyways, and gray hairs. That'll annoy me. Riddle. Riddle versus AJ Styles. Mike Rome was not there tonight. Sure why. Very upsetting. Only like to see Mike Rome announcing title fights. I don't know what he's doing.
He's probably only there for big matches now because of COVID and everything. He's like, if it's not big, don't risk my health. Which is what everyone should be saying.
Don't call me. It was, as it always is with Matt Riddle, a very interesting fight. It looked like garbage. There's the fight. Matt Riddle, a phenomenal core strength that I didn't know was possible to obtain. I personally believe that I have great core strength, and I don't work out. So one day I could be as strong as him, I'm sure. I'm sure everyone knows that too. However, the way he's able to just pick people up, and he's using at the German suplex, the fisherman suplex, the ones that require you to be on the ground. Stunning. AJ only moment minutes before the end of the episode.
You like cut off real bad, like towards the beginning of your sentence. Starting it with however, you cut off until now. It was all a lot of lag. That was entirely cut out too.
Say before, however.
After, however.
Say before it.
You're talking about Matt Riddle's core strength?
Okay. Anyways. However, AJ Styles finally got his moment. He got Matt Riddle mainly because he shoved his little tootsie between Matt Riddle's knee and his calf and then pulled the leg backwards. And it should somehow be Matt Riddle's kryptonite, I guess. And we were going to watch Matt Riddle after 4 weeks in Smackdown win a title, and I was going to lose it. Thank God we didn't see that.
And Corbin's glad too.
Yeah, because the moment AJ Styles pinned him, it was a very tense moment where they were like, do we shake hands or do we not? They shook hands and Corbin said, you shouldn't have though. And just out of nowhere, just tackles Goober. I'm going to use because I don't want to use any bad words. And pounds him into the canvas. And then we get to see the end of days. And I said, thank you, SmackDown writers. Finally, something I can feast on.
It was a really good match. I will give them that. And I think, you know, I've never really liked AJ Styles that much as a wrestler. But today, I thought he was incredible. I thought he was absolutely phenomenal, and I'll talk about this more once we get into the fighters of the night. And it seems like he kind of has this thing where he can almost mimic another wrestler's style. He did that a few times with Matt Riddle, and I think he did it with Daniel Bryan too. He didn't have to with Drew Gulak because Drew Gulak didn't make a single move in that fight. But I love this AJ Styles as a character, not so much a person, but
The earth is flat for AJ Styles, we've decided. I mean, I personally cannot stand the man as a human being. However, as a fighter, I'll give him credit. I wanted him to win tonight anyways because of journal reasons. However, I was worried for a while because it looked like he didn't look like he was going to win. He twerked between crazy little suplex and then a backbreaker that actually like looked a little bit like a genuine backbreaker. He really looked like he was on top of himself tonight, and I enjoyed that. Plus, we got to see King Corbin, so
yeah.
Does it get better than that? Probably not. I don't have much else to say about this fight, really. So I don't know if you want to go into our promo or if you want to say anything else.
I think the fight kind of speaks for itself. It's nice to see a very convincing title defense from AJ Styles, and I am glad Matt Riddle didn't win his first title match 4 weeks into his debut. It's kind of a travesty that he was able to just get this opportunity so fast.
It looks like they might be setting him up for a fight with a feud rather with Corbin, which I'm excited to see because I'm hoping that means that we will see at least one King Corbin victory. And
based on what we saw in the ring when he stepped in, I think the Corbin we're seeing now is not the old-fashioned Corbin, but the Corbin from I think it was Extreme Rules last year or WrestleMania, where he end of days Becky Lynch. I think we're seeing that Corbin again, and I want that Corbin so bad. Yeah, we haven't seen him do anything impressive in a long time.
I've heard so many stories about Thomas Pestock, the person. Him as a wrestler, as King Corbin, is impressive enough. And when he's been the last few weeks is just like some schmuck in the corner. Like, eh. But when you remember how he was, the fact that he's revered for how safe he is and how intense he can make things look while still not like actually risking anyone's lives, deserves so much. And for him to not have a title after this whole time. And Matt Riddle just comes out of nowhere, has a massive controversy about him, and still manages to get this whole title push. Unbearable. Unbearable. I'm glad. I'm glad that not only did he lose, King Corbin, really, at the end of the day, was the real winner.
I love that your camera is freezing like every 3 seconds. But your voice still comes through, but your camera just freezes every few seconds.
I love our Wi-Fi. It's so good. Thank you, Verizon. Anywho.
Might also help if you are on the 5G. I don't think you are.
13%.
That also might factor into it.
The
fact that your laptop's not plugged in.
old girl in. Come on, sweetie. The charging cord. The charging cord. Please. All right. I do our promo.
Yes, promo of the night. So we've got a selection. We've got a pretty decent selection tonight. So first off, we had the initial promo with all the wrestlers talking about today and the upcoming matches and stuff like that. Then you had an interview with King Corbin, which, you know, it was an interview. Then you had the Cesaro and Shinsuke promo, a moment of bliss, Miz and Morrison promo, which was very funny. I like the little horror movie discussion because I'm a huge horror movie fan. Then you had the Firefly Not So Fun House or the Firefly Swamp House, which was kind of lackluster for Firefly Fun House. Plus you had some technical issues, and it was not to the standard of Firefly Funhouse that we're kind of used to. Then you had an interview with Jeff Hardy where he got kicked in the face by Sheamus. You had a Bayley and Sasha interview, which was same old, and then you had a very emotional promo featuring Alexa and Nikki. So it's very difficult to pick today. I'm torn between the Jeff Hardy interview because he gets his face kicked in, or the Alexa and Nikki promo, just because of how gosh darn emotional that was. And I do want to give like a quick shout out to that first promo because it's them trying something new, and it seemed to be good, nice. It didn't take away anything from the show, and I mean, until they reused footage towards the end, but I mean, it seemed like a good addition that they could do from now on, maybe. But, you know, none of these entertain me as much as the Alexa Nikki promo because it was so damn emotional, and then you had Nikki go off the rails and attack Bayley.
I choose that. Going with you on that one. Mostly because emotionally sit there and I was like, I'm not gonna cry at WWE right now. I'm definitely not gonna cry at SmackDown, that's for sure. Yeah, it hurt me a lot. Like, I feel like they knew the right buttons to push right now because a lot of us are like all stuck in quarantine and like not able to visit our families.
Unless they live in Florida.
Which, yeah, okay, I guess that's fair. That's fair. Like, got hurt, and then the fact that, like, in spite of how sad she sounded, she was like, she heard Bayley and she was like, I'm gonna kill her. I'm still gonna kill her. And I was like, yes, you are. You go do that. Yeah, I want to say that's mine too because me and the heart.
Mm-hmm.
Then hit me in the rage.
So fighter. All right. So the fighter of the night. I don't think there's any contest here. You might disagree with me, but first I'll run through all of them. First, we had Cesaro versus Big E. I mean, Cesaro is the highlight of this match. He absolutely went balls to the walls here. Absolutely showing us his strength and his absolute endurance as a wrestler. It seemed like Big E didn't stand a chance. And Cesaro is just an incredible performer in general. So I don't think it's any contest that he's the pick for that fight. Then you had Asuka, Nikki Cross versus Bayley and Sasha. Nikki Cross for days. She showed us a new side of her that was more impressive than any side of her we've ever seen. I do wish that we had gotten better jabs, better punches from her. She seems to still play it a little too safe with that. Either missing by a mile or just like instead of like, because I know she likes to go for the elbow kind of thing. But she likes to swing her whole body, like flop into it, basically. Rather flail into it. I think she could be a little more convincing in that sense. Especially since she is such a talented wrestler, and we've seen that today. So, I think that is something that if she perfected, she would be like one of the best female wrestlers right now. And then you had Braun Strowman. And then you had Lacey Evans versus Naomi. Did you catch what I just did? Okay. Lacey Evans versus Naomi. Naomi was outstanding. Lacey Evans was great too, but I think everything Lacey Evans did, Naomi just added a little extra flair to it. Naomi is an incredible wrestler, and I'm glad that she's returned. It's been a while since we've seen her. So I am so happy, and I look forward to seeing more of her. But she didn't get a great chance to show off today because it was such a short match, which isn't because of her. It's not her fault, but she suffers because of it. And then lastly, Matt Riddle versus AJ Styles. Here's where I think you might disagree with me. AJ Styles, I think, is the pick for this fight. He is an absolutely incredible wrestler today. His style, from what I saw, where he could basically mimic a lot of what Matt Riddle was doing and did it better. Like, he copied his little MMA jab thing for a moment, and then he used Matt Riddle's submission technique to almost win the match, and then he pinned him in a different way to win the match. Like I said, I think this AJ Styles is much more convincing as a champion than we've ever seen him. Definitely a lot more convincing than the Boneyard match AJ Styles. Although you were talking about how Matt Riddle was kind of showing how superior he was early on, that was early on. And then once the halfway mark set, AJ Styles really took over. The biggest moment for me was when he had Matt Riddle in that submission hold with his leg, where he had his leg bent over his calf, and Matt Riddle was trying to escape, and he just pivoted himself in a way to get him away from the ropes and keep him kind of centered in the ring. It shows a lot of control over himself and his opponent that you don't see out of traditional wrestlers like AJ Styles, or not traditional, but WWE performer wrestlers, and more so in practical wrestlers like Matt Riddle and Daniel Bryan. it's really nice to see that AJ Styles has kind of adapted to the wrestlers he's been fighting. And I cannot wait to see him fight a wrestler and defend his title against somebody with a lot more tenure. Somebody who we would be fine with getting the title.
Sami Zayn.
Honestly, I would kill for that fight. I would kill for an AJ Styles Sami Zayn fight, or AJ Styles Sheamus fight. That would be great. But so overall, and I saw your face when I said this. I am gonna go with AJ Styles as my fighter of the night. I'm pushing for AJ Styles this time. I tried before and you fought me on it, but I'm going AJ Styles.
Okay. No, I don't know. Torn because I really like Cesaro tonight.
Oh, Cesaro. Okay.
That we saw moves from Cesaro's arsenal that we haven't seen in a while. It's that we saw both an understanding of position holds and entertainment wrestling that I feel like we don't get that blend very often. I feel like a lot of times it's either great at grappling or you're at flamboyant wrestling moves. I really liked Cesaro tonight, man. I don't know how else to tell you, but the only downside for me, the only minus, is that he won because Shinsuke took advantage of the referee being distracted. But just so much from Cesaro tonight showed who he was as an athlete. That's not something we've been seeing as often as I'd like to see from him.
I don't really know how to counterpoint because I've been preparing for you to argue for Matt Riddle this whole time. So I can't really counterpoint at all. Cesaro was great today. I don't think he was the best. I think in terms of in-ring performance, AJ Styles was the best because of his sheer focus and determination to prove Daniel Bryan wrong about how he is as a champion. I think that really showed in how he was wrestling today. And AJ Styles I've never really, up until recently, come around to him. And today, I really see a world where I can really root for AJ Styles, as a wrestler, not as a person, but mostly because of how kind of almost unique his wrestling style is, at least from what I'm gathering, how he has adapted and mimicked other wrestlers that he's fought recently. It shows a lot of dynamics in his fighting style, and I don't think we have that kind of dynamics with Cesaro, at least today. I'm not denying that Cesaro is an incredible performer. I know he is. We watched Survivor Series together, and he is an incredible in-ring performer, but I think today specifically, AJ Styles outshined even just a little bit.
My problem was a couple series of punches that AJ landed on Matt that didn't make any sense. Sort of like, where are you trying to hit? And where you're trying to hit, it doesn't look like it's connecting at all. Or where it would make sense for you to be hitting, it doesn't look like it's connecting. This is something we talked about last week, and I noticed it again this week, which is Cesaro loves to do his uppercut. Is so good at the European uppercut. It makes any move that normally would have just been like a spear or a running Big E into the corner. We got so many uppercuts that we don't normally really get to see other people do, and we got to see so much stuff that really sold everything that he did tonight, and really focus on both things at the same time. But I just I really like to see he wasn't on top of the match the whole time. When he was on top of the match, he was he has such a great understanding of wrestling from both a classical and non-classical end, and the way he combines it together into the same mold, more or less, is so interesting, and so happy that we're starting to get to see him on one more, and with Shinsuke on his side, we're going to see much more of who Cesaro is as like a wrestler. In a way that haven't really seen with AJ, and because he looked so weak for like the first 2/3 of the match tonight, it was hard. It's hard for me to say that that's who I want to give my night to.
You see, you talked about him not making contact with some punches, but I think he really made up for that with going full contact with a really just gnarly sidekick right into Matt Riddle's jaw that he then accepted the receipt in return when Matt Riddle kneed him right in the face. And that, it's full contact, but also it's kind of that wrestling culture that we like to see where, yes, one person may have gotten hurt, but they received the backlash for it a little later. So it's that kind of wrestling respect that it's hard to pinpoint, but we caught it, or at least I caught it this time. But you're not going to be able to convince me for Cesaro right now, unfortunately, and I know I'm not going to convince you on AJ Styles. So let's leave it up to our followers on Twitter. If you go to @thepinfallcast after the show's over, we will be tweeting out our selections for Fighter of the Night, and you guys can pick whether you think it should be Cesaro, AJ Styles, or comment on someone else you think should be the Fighter of the Night. But for now,
Riddle, we won't listen to you.
But for now, our picks are Cesaro and AJ Styles. I am keen on AJ Styles right now. You're keen on Cesaro. That's a fair point. It's a fair point of view, but I gotta disagree.
Would you like to discuss the fight of the night?
Fight of the night. I feel like we're gonna agree on this. I have a strong feeling. Right. Strong feeling. So, Big E versus Cesaro. Really good fight. I wish we would see more out of Big E, other than just splashing. I feel like that's his big thing, is just splashing onto his opponent. And this was definitely just a tease for Extreme Rules, especially with the ending. Stakes weren't all there to... It was definitely just 100% a teaser match. Although we did get to see a great Cesaro, I think at Extreme Rules we'll see an even better performance from everybody, especially Cesaro. And then you had Bayley and Sasha versus Asuka and Nikki. It was a decent fight. It was the Nikki show. We didn't see Asuka. It was the Nikki show. We didn't see Asuka. 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 We did really at all, honestly. I mean, it was the point where we didn't even mention Asuka at all in this podcast. We didn't mention when she walked in. We didn't mention her in the fight at all. So that I'm pretty sure she like went in once, took a hit, and then was out on the sidelines for the entire time until she climbed up on the desk and started dancing with Nikki. But overall, it was decent. It was good. Definitely needed better performances from 75% of the fighters rather than just Nikki, but it makes me very hopeful for the 2 matches that are coming at Extreme Rules. And that's basically what today was just looking forward to Sunday. And then you had Braun versus the Air, which, like you said, John Morrison was basically enhancement talent. Braun was basically just fighting the Air at this point, fighting his inner demons. But it was really nice. I'm not going to completely discount this fight because of the enhancement talent. It was really nice to see Braun totally go just nuts. Like, completely let loose. And I hope he brings that same energy to Bray. And I really want to say it now, but I'm going to wait for our predictions. But I really want to see this energy on Sunday. And then Naomi versus Lacey Evans. It was a 5-minute fight. They needed to bring it longer, especially given how disastrous last week was. But if it was longer, this fight would probably be a contender for Fight of the Night. I mean, Lacey Evans and Naomi were both outstanding. And I want to see them in like good stories and good billings to where it's an exciting match. This wasn't super exciting. There were no stakes. It was just Lacey Evans was mad that Naomi was picked the winner of karaoke. I mean, it was dumb. And then we go into the last fight. Matt Riddle versus AJ Styles. Title defense, and title defenses for the most part are always fun. Matt Riddle, we saw a lot of him doing what he does best with his core strength. Didn't see so much of the former MMA Matt Riddle, other than some German suplexes. But he really performed tonight, and he performs every single night he's on, even if it's just a for-nothing match. But tonight really brought out AJ Styles. Better, he gets progressively better and better with every fight. And I think today he just shined. And the back and forth, how it started with Matt Riddle kind of winning and then turned to AJ Styles winning, it showed that they actually put a little thought into the fight and kind of wrote the performers at even levels, and not just AJ Styles has a higher tenure, Matt Riddle is the newcomer. And then having the entrance of Corbin at the end really put the icing on the cake, because it laid the groundwork for a future story that's going to be more than just Matt Riddle wants a title, and that's it. AJ Styles is going to defend it. And the promos beforehand really helped. I think Daniel Bryan's from home promo actually really helped this fight, because it showed some respect that he kind of has for AJ Styles and how he kind of has these expectations that he wants AJ Styles to break out of and actually become the champion that he's supposedly is right now. And so with that said, there's only one fight that really makes it for me, and it's a fight that's not just leading into Extreme Rules, and it's not bogged down by a previous week that was awful. So it's Matt Riddle versus AJ Styles is my fight of the night.
Still not happy with Matt Riddle. Still not happy with a lot of things that's happening around him.
You happy with AJ Styles at least?
happy with that match.
And Corbin.
So much trouble when it comes down to Matt Riddle because like I was so behind him for so long.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so excited when he got called up. And the moment he got called up, that's when like the whole speaking out thing happened. I was like,
It was really bad timing.
I guess that is a term you could use. Bad timing.
Rather unfortunate timing.
Yeah. I so excited for him to come up to SmackDown. The moment he did, that's when everything came out against him.
And it's also when SmackDown went to shit, basically.
Yeah. And again, no one knows what's happened at this point, aside from the people involved. But it's so gratingly hard for me to say he is my anything of any night. With that being said, I have to go against my better half here and say that was absolutely my match of the night. It was an exciting match. It was full of skill. It had every right to be the main event match.
You can't deny that the two of them know how to put on a damn good show.
Both people involved were exciting to watch and of one another really well. Can't say that for the Cesaro and Big E fight because Big E,
love the guy.
Impressive, yeah. How can you not love Big E? It wasn't his best night tonight.
Mm-hmm. It wasn't written to be his best.
Right. The Matt Riddle AJ Styles fight was really good. Really good. Oh yes, that is my fight of the night. Begrudgingly, but one way or the other.
All right, so
yeah.
To recap, promo of the night: Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross reflect. Fighter of the night: Cesaro or AJ Styles. Vote with us on Twitter who you think should be the fighter of the night. And then our fight of the night we are decisive on. That is Matt Riddle versus AJ Styles. Featuring King Corbin.
That's what sold it for me.
I want Corbin's one win to be against Matt Riddle. That would be perfect.
I'd be so happy.
Especially since how I think the real Corbin is also pissed off about Matt Riddle immediately getting a title fight.
Weird. He just suddenly pops up here and suddenly he's like, I get a title. It's like, well, yeah. Really? I don't know. I want to launch into our predictions before we go on for way too long.
Yes, our Extreme Rules predictions, which I'm always very excited for. So, do we want to alternate with matches? I feel like that's the most fitting. Like we do one match at a time for each of us.
I was just going to read the title of the match and then we would say who we chose.
Okay, yeah.
To make it not confusing?
We're talking about the same thing.
Okay. So I'm running this down in the way that the article on CBS Sports listed all the matches. I don't know if this is the correct order. It probably is not. And Mark, just remember that we have to do away with one of our potential matches because I know it's not going to happen at Extreme Rules. Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. Remember, I can't see you, so if you nod or anything, I can't see it. Let's start with Apollo Crews versus MVP. Who do you have?
All right, so I already know off the bat we're gonna disagree. I picked MVP because of that shiny old new belt that he made. I don't think they're gonna have him make a whole new belt and then for it to not go anywhere, because they're gonna have Apollo keep his belt rather than just have a new one. Unless they do something weird where they just say, here, Apollo, here's a new belt instead.
So I brought this up to Mark when he mentioned, because we went through these first before SmackDown started. I mentioned to Mark that if Drew McIntyre came out of nowhere and was like, redesign the championship belt, because I just thought it'd be cooler this way, Mark would immediately be like, he's not going to win. Cocky. He's not going to win. No, MVP redesigns the belt, and Mark's like, yes, that's my winner. On that note, I chose Apollo Crews because all I want from Apollo Crews right now is for him to not only defend the title, but also look at that belt and be like, hate it. Nope, moving on. Then MVP can go home with his fake belt.
But it's such a nice looking belt. It's so much better than the current belt. It's so nice.
Right? Like it's nice. It's just
Alright, so
MVP wearing it. So
I say MVP, you pick Apollo Crews. Right off the bat, we're agreeing. And we should also say, for every wrong prediction we have, last time we did a shot per wrong prediction. I might continue that, or at least half a shot.
oh my god.
I'm
gonna make a cocktail and take like a nice big sip from it.
Okay.
That's what I'll do.
I'll do
Make like 2 cocktails and I'll sit them on my desk.
I'll do a shot per prediction. That's how confident I am in my predictions. I'm gonna be the overconfident one here.
Mark's a big strong man also. I am not a big strong man. I'm a very small person. I have an 18 BMI. I can't drink that much without getting absolutely sloshed. Taking large sips from a cocktail. Because there's absolutely no amount of food I can put in my belly and do a shot or half a shot for every wrong prediction I get. I stay safe. Anyways. See how you do. We have Rey Mysterio versus Seth Rollins. Where do you stand on that?
I mean, Rey Mysterio. I mean, come on. It's this guy's story. He's got to come around and come out on top here. He might... I have a feeling... I know they've been talking about they'll use CGI or prosthetics for this fight. I have a feeling that Rey will turn around and be like, no, Seth, I'm the bigger man. I'm not going to take your eye. Who do you think I am? I'm not insane like you.
Adjusted the stipulation.
Yeah, so he could be the bigger man in the end. And say no to the stipulation. And then lose to Seth Rollins. I'm sticking with Rey Mysterio. It's his story. He needs to round out the arc.
Alright, so I'm stopping this in its tracks right now, before it gets too ridiculous. I'm choosing Seth Rollins. It does not make any sense for them to be like, hey, here's a guy who literally does not have a contract with us anymore, and we're just keeping him around because of the storyline. Mysterio's older and probably close to retiring if he is not, like, writing it out in his, like, books now. It would make more sense for them to be like, okay, let's take Rey Mysterio's other eye and make him completely useless as a wrestler. Bring in Dominic to avenge his father. It's a storyline. Seth Rollins is on top of the world. Someone else can be mean to him, and then he'll start something with them. It doesn't make sense for Seth Rollins to lose an eye. They don't know how long they're going to keep him around for. They probably don't want to have to commit to wearing an eye patch, like Patchy the Pirate, for the rest of his career WWE.
Like Dean Ambrose?
Yeah, exactly like Dean Ambrose. Or rather, John Moxley now.
Yeah. But I look at it this way. If this is his last fight and he is retiring after this, I don't think they'll have him lose at a pay-per-view event to the height, to the climax of this entire story. I think they're going to have him maybe lose for most of the fight, and then Dominic comes in, and together they beat Seth.
Seth is so young in terms of like wrestling years. I can't imagine WWE or Vince McMahon, for that matter, like Rollins wearing an eye patch for literally the rest of his career. Sure, let's do it. Doesn't make any sense. It doesn't. Unless he loses and they turn around like the day after and they're like, haha, Seth Rollins got his eye back. I don't know how that happened. Unless they do that, it makes no sense. I cannot see them committing to Seth Rollins wearing an eye patch for the rest of his time wrestling at WWE.
I mean, we'll see. They've done more ridiculous stuff before, so
I'm putting all my money on that horse right there. I'm sorry.
they're committing to some wrestlers having ridiculous contacts on.
That's different because Rhea only wears it sometimes. Rhea only wears it sometimes. Funny enough, Rhea and Rhea.
Also, Kaden Carter.
I'd forgotten about that. Thanks. Now I'm sad.
Now let's move on to
Bayley versus Nikki Cross.
I got Nikki Cross, especially after today's showing. Like, she's on a train right now. She's on the wreck train. And she's going to wreck Bayley, I think, at Extreme Rules. I think Bayley's going to lose her title. And then throw an absolute temper tantrum. And it's going to be glorious to see.
So I originally had Bayley. Going into tonight, I had Bayley. And then I had that promo, and I was like, and I want, the thing is my predictions and who I want to win aren't quite the same. I choose my predictions because I know I have to take a drink if I'm wrong. Correct prediction feels like it's Bayley. For the most part. But after tonight's promo, I was like, it would be weird for them to be like, here's your lines. It's all about you disappointing your family in Scotland if you lose to Bayley. Make her lose to Bayley at Extreme Rules. It's like, I'm really hoping that Nikki gets this title for her. I have chosen her. I deleted Bayley's name from my predictions for her. She loses. Oh, so yeah. So I have Nikki.
So we both have Nikki as our first one we agree on.
And I think we agree on almost everything else after this, I think. Because after this is Asuka and Sasha.
I picked Asuka because she got the title pretty recently. I mean, she defended it against Charlotte Flair, Nia Jax, two opponents that I think are above Sasha Banks' skill set. And the only way Sasha can really win is if Bayley really steps in. And if Bayley loses her title, think of this big picture. Bayley loses her title to Nikki Cross. She is in the absolute worst mood. Like, feeling awful. Unmotivated. Like Seth Rollins right after Money in the Bank. She doesn't want to do anything. She stands aside during the Asuka-Sasha Banks match. Sasha Banks starts getting wrecked. She's like, where's Bayley to help me out? Bayley's like backstage at catering, doing God knows what. Sasha loses. Asuka retains. Sasha says to Bayley backstage, what the hell? Where were you? I lost because of you. Suddenly the blame's put on her for some reason, because that's how they like to fight. They break up. That's how it goes. Then, you don't know what to do with the women's tag team title. I think it's a Smackdown women's tag team title or women's tag team title. It's up for grabs at a new championship tournament, just like the Intercontinental title. And then the finals for that done at WrestleMania. Or SummerSlam, not
I was gonna
WrestleMania.
say it's really far away. Because everyone's predicting that like the major storylines that don't get wrapped up at Extreme Rules are probably gonna get wrapped up at SummerSlam. Which makes sense. It's a month away. However, Asuka wins. I mostly agree because I can't see Asuka not winning. And on top of that, I feel like chaos. I would love to see both of those girls lose their titles.
Mm-hmm.
Love that. I would just a rush of blood to the head.
Especially something they've established recently, since before Money in the Bank, actually, is that Asuka is very keen on being tricked or dirty or foul play. We saw that with Shayna Baszler, how she like destroyed every opponent she had by like, literally breaking their arms, and pinned their arm inside of the ladder, and Asuka's really quick to pick up on that. And she's fought Bayley and Sasha God knows how many times now, with Kairi too, and she knows what their game is. She knows what she can do to win. And if my prediction's right and Bayley's out of the picture, I think Asuka very clearly has this.
McIntyre versus Dolph Ziggler.
Dolph Ziggler. Okay, so I want to expand on this. I put Drew, as I'm sure you did too.
Yeah.
But I think, can I put down a second prediction that I will drink for if I'm wrong, but it's separate from my other prediction?
I don't want to hear it, but sure, I guess.
So, I've talked this with you before, but Dolph has been postponing saying what the stipulation is because he doesn't want Drew to prepare for it. And I think that it's not a physical stipulation, it's a mental one. I think he's going to bring in one of his pals from 3MB. I know you've said it can't possibly be Jinder Mahal.
It can't!
It could be another one of Drew's old pals, could be anyone who's been close to him in his life, to then fight against him. I mean, we didn't expect Dolph to come out and be like, hey, you and I had a long history. There could be other people who have a long history with Drew that would severely affect him if he had to fight. I think... What?
Every week with this. I do not know how to explain to you in the nicest terms possible that the only other friend that Dolph has not brought out that could possibly be brought out at this point is Vince. It's Vince.
Maybe it is Vince.
If he brings out Vince, fine. That's weird. I'll accept it, but it's weird.
But look, I'm standing by this. I think that he's going to use psychological damage on Drew. I think it's going to be close because that is the only way.
No. Wait. Before you go any further with whatever madness you are deciding to spew tonight, is your secondary prediction that he's going to use mental warfare against Drew?
Is that
what it is?
It's that he's going to bring out somebody in a handicap match against Drew.
Okay, so I just want to be 100% clear, because I do not doubt that Dolph will do something that will resemble psychological warfare. I don't doubt that at all. I mean, that's what this whole thing has been this whole time. I need you to be specific so that when you are wrong, I can watch you drink to it.
Okay. Being specific...
Psychological warfare does not count because we agree on that.
Right. I'm saying that as my second prediction, Dolph Ziggler will bring out somebody as a surprise as his stipulation in a handicap match against Drew McIntyre.
I've written your prediction down. You are absolutely out of your head.
Look, there's no stipulation possible that would make this an even fight in any way. Whether it be a strap match, a cage match, an arms behind the back match, Drew would always destroy Dolph. The only way that it would be anywhere near even footing is if Dolph brought out somebody else. You know what? What if it's Bobby he brings out? Bobby's not going to be at Extreme Rules at all.
He will be on behalf of MVP.
And Dolph knows that Drew has lost to Bobby before, or at least has gotten close to losing.
I think that would have been set up in Raw. However, I want you to stop talking right now because I'm stressed. I don't want to talk about it anymore.
I want everyone
to
know I've been right on ridiculous predictions before. Anyway.
He's been right on one ridiculous prediction before, and he has held on to this for a while. However, steal this show because I haven't even said my prediction yet. I'm out of drinks, sitting here. Obviously, I've chosen Drew McIntyre. I couldn't choose anyone else. It'd be blasphemy. I'm pretty sure that when he longer has the title, when I was younger, I would do college basketball brackets a lot. And for some reason, I was obsessed with the University of Arizona. So I chose them to win, and I didn't realize I had chosen them to lose at some point. So I managed to have them in the finals after they lost in like the second round. Basically, I'm going to do that with Drew. Even when he loses the title, I'll still believe that he's the one who's going to win it at any pay-per-view. Because I refuse. I refuse to watch a WWE champion that's not him. He wins. I'm predicting that now. If he doesn't win, Lord have mercy on my poor little soul. Oh boy, I will not remember the podcast as we do it. Is Strowman versus Bray Wyatt.
All right. So I picked Bray. I think
Did I?
I think that Braun is going to, especially after today, go absolutely like off the walls and just insane. I think he's going to be too crazy for this, and Bray is gonna kind of manipulate that and sway it to his advantage, especially on his homestead. And it's his home field advantage. I had a prediction earlier that maybe because we're seeing Braun on this down spiral, that he would actually like legitimately kill Bray. And then maybe be convinced by the puppets to join and take over for Bray as the new Firefly Funhouse host. But, you know, if I have to go with the real prediction, it's going to be that Bray is going to manipulate the craziness inside of Braun. Because they're not going to have him lose for the second pay-per-view event that they fought. So I gotta go with Bray.
Chose Bray as well, mostly because I want to see Bray win. Bray hasn't had a win in a while, and I think going in it too weak-minded in a way, considering how unhinged he was tonight. And I think the whole reason that we saw him fight tonight was because they wanted to prove how unhinged he was.
Mm-hmm.
So I get a funny little feeling he's not gonna win. I think it's gonna be Bray.
All right. Then we're in agreement.
One potential match. No, actually, we have one confirmed new match. Day versus Shinsuke and Cesaro.
Yes. And funny enough, this is the hardest one for me to pick because they seem so evenly matched that it's so difficult. But I gotta say New Day. Because the whole table thing has been Cesaro and Shinsuke's idea this whole time. They've been bringing out tables every time they go in the ring. That I think it's going to be like an uphill battle for New Day. And kind of like the hero's journey, where they're presented with this challenge that's brought to them and they overcome it as the fight progresses. And it would make for a much more exciting fight, because this is a resistance or an obstacle that's brought forth to them by Cesaro and Shinsuke. So, with that said, I'm hoping we see a really cool pattern in this, to where whoever brings up the stipulation loses. That might be really interesting. I don't think we'll get that since Rey Mysterio brought up his stipulation, although you'll disagree with me, but I gotta say New Day for this last fight.
I Shinsuke Cesaro. Because I've come around to them. I love them. I would trust Cesaro with my whole life. And I just think that, you know, maybe it's a little too early in their storyline. Maybe I'm wrong. They've been going on and on about this whole "I deserve respect" kind of thing. That I think there's a chance. I think that it's something that people have been asking for, as far as like making Shinsuke someone that's like worthwhile. And the fact that Cesaro used to be so respected and now has kind of fallen on deaf ears. I think that there's a good chance that he's gonna get back into that tag team scene like he was with Cesaro and Sheamus when like they were a thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's a good chance of that. That's what I'm looking for.
Manifesting.
No, I can't. I think that there's a good chance that he and Shinsuke have a strong path towards this belt, and a strong path towards mild domination, if you will.
I also can't pick Cesaro and Shinsuke because, especially after Corey Graves teased Xavier Woods coming back for this.
Xavier Woods comes out, I don't even care if I'm wrong. Oh. Fine, let it happen.
He would make the match like outstanding. I want to see him so much more now. And I've been falsely predicting him coming back like every so often. But I think this is the time. I think this would be the perfect time for him to come back.
We're in the right window of time now, because, again, as I said earlier, he was supposed to be out from 6 months to a year.
Mm-hmm.
And past 6 months now. So I think since we're getting closer to the end of the year since he's been gone, it's possible that he could be ringside.
Yeah. Do we want to make one last prediction, and that's which match they will stuff into the pre-show?
Oof.
I think it's going to be New Day versus Cesaro and Shinsuke.
I would put that bet down too, because they stuffed Apollo in their last pay-per-view during Backlash. And the New Day, Shinsuke and Cesaro is a little, I don't want to say unimportant, but I just think that there's less riding on that as far as like fans' values are concerned.
They also,
but I would see that happening.
They also never really like formally announced it. It was very much just like a sideline, just like, hey, this is happening at Extreme Rules.
Yeah.
And they never really made a card for it. They haven't been on any of the posters that WWE has made. So I think it's very safe to say that that match will be stuffed to the pre-show, unfortunately, despite it being a title match.
I agree with you. I mean, basically all of these are almost all title matches, I think, except for Braun and Bray. And Bray and Seth.
Yeah.
But obviously they're not going to shove Braun and Bray into the pre-game show because it doesn't make sense because it's cinematic.
Mm-hmm.
They definitely aren't going to stuff Ray and Seth in there. So I would also say that there's a good chance it is. Wow, I love talking. I would say that it's going to be Cesaro and Shinsuke versus New Day. Agree.
What do you think is going to be the main event?
That's a hard one. I think it's going to be a toss-up between Asuka and Sasha versus Sasha or Drew versus Dolph.
Yeah, if Dolph does bring out somebody, I think that would make it main event worthy. But if it's just Dolph versus Drew, I think that's definitely not main event worthy. Asuka versus Sasha. If it's a main event, Asuka's winning. If it's not, I have a bad feeling that Sasha might win. Because Asuka always loves to win her main event fights. Her one-on-one main event fights. But I think Drew vs. Dolph is a good contender. Although Braun vs. Bray could also be a good contender because it is the cinematic match. And it sort of brings in the whole definition of the horror show. And they've kind of been advertising it the most out of any match that's been announced. They announced it on Raw.
If that's what you're going by, then like why would you say that like a match where somebody has to claw an eye out of someone's head isn't the horror show? That feels like it's much more terrifying than fighting in a swamp.
Well, it's like the Boneyard match. Well, that wasn't the main event.
That wasn't main event.
I think that's the second time I referenced that. Anyway. Do you want to wrap up the show?
We'll partially wrap it up, and then you can do our goals. So, Pete, you've come just in time. Don't yell at me. Right. So that is all of our predictions. That is our wrap up of the Smackdown for July 17th. Our pantaloons ready. We will be back on Sunday. Mark it in your calendar.
Sunday.
Tell whatever robot controls your phone to remind you about this. We'll be back Sunday. Take 15 minutes probably after Extreme Rules ends. If Drew loses, make it 20 because I'm going to have to dry my eyes and not look like I'm going into anaphylactic shock. Yeah, we'll be back then. We are going to have some fun punishments for losing.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, hope that you've enjoyed this first half of the Golden Week of Wrestling, as I like to call the week before and after a pay-per-view. Because I sure as heck almost enjoyed all of it.
And if you did enjoy, please follow. You can be notified whenever we go live. I'm sure you know how Twitch works.
Don't.
And it lets us know that we're doing a good job. And if we're not, use the suggestion box down below. It lets us know what we're doing wrong, what we can change, and what you guys are enjoying. And we will definitely take into consideration as we continue on the show, because we're still fresh and new, basically. So we want to make this perfect for you guys. And also, follow us on Twitter, at the Pinfall Cast. We announce all of our streams there as well, and we post our fighters and fights of the night in case you guys miss an episode. And you can also discuss with us on various wrestling news and just all wrestling stuff that happens we will be talking about on Twitter. And follow our personal Twitters. Mine is at the Mark, M-A-R-C, Cameron. And Liz's is at Eliza Elaine 23. And follow my personal Twitch, which is at Mark, M-A-R-C, Cameron. I am we're doing this very special thing. A group of us are doing this very special thing of combining wrestling with Pokemon. Liz is doing some of the behind the scenes for that. She's not
I'm Triple E.
Triple E.
Bleach.
Yes.
I'm also Liz Paris because we don't have a Mike Rome. Apparently, neither does Smackdown anymore.
So thank you for watching. We will see you on Sunday.
Student!